The bass was thumping so hard I could feel it in my chest. Neon lights painted everything blue and purple, and the crowd at Velvet Underground was packed tighter than sardines in a can. I shouldn't have been there, like literally shouldn't have been there. My father, Judge Harrison Mackenzie, would have flipped his lid if he knew his precious daughter was dancing in the hottest underground club in downtown LA. But here's the thing, right? Sometimes you gotta live a little. Sometimes you gotta break the rules. And that night, man, that was the night everything changed. I was vibing to the music, totally in my own world, when I felt someone watching me. You know that feeling? Like when your skin gets all tingly and you just know someone's got their eyes locked on you. I turned around and there he was. Tall, dark suit that probably cost more than my car, jaw that could cut glass, and these eyes, dude, these piercing gray eyes that looked straight into my soul. He was standing in the VIP section, surrounded by guys in expensive threads, but he wasn't paying attention to any of them. He was staring at me. Just me. And when our eyes met, the whole club disappeared. The music faded. Time literally stopped. I didn't know it then, but that man was Dominic "Dom" Castellano. And he wasn't just some rich dude with a nice suit. He was the most dangerous man in California. Look, before I tell you what happened next, you gotta do me a solid real quick. Hit that subscribe button right now and smash that like. What? Because this story gets absolutely wild, and I'm talking life or death, heart-pounding, can't look away kind of wild. If you're into forbidden love stories where a mafia boss falls for the one person he should never touch, you don't want to miss what comes next. Plus, when you subscribe, you'll catch all the crazy twists in this story and tons more like it. Trust me, this nightclub meeting? It's just the tip of the iceberg. So go ahead, hit subscribe, drop a like, and let's keep going because what Dom did next literally changed my entire life. So there I was, frozen like a deer in headlights, staring at this guy who looked like he walked straight out of a Scorsese film. My best friend Maya grabbed my arm and was like, "Girl, that dude is totally checking you out." And I'm standing there trying to play it cool, but my heart's racing like crazy. Then, and I kid you not, he started walking toward me. Through the crowd. People literally parted like the Red Sea when they saw him coming. That should have been my first clue, right? Normal people don't get that kind of respect in a packed nightclub. But I was 23, fresh out of grad school, and honestly, I was kinda buzzed on cheap champagne and the thrill of rebellion. He stopped right in front of me, so close I could smell his cologne, something expensive and intoxicating, and he goes, "You don't belong here." Just like that. No, "Hey baby," or cheesy pickup line. His voice was deep, smooth like whiskey with this edge to it that made my skin tingle. I crossed my arms trying to look braver than I felt and shot back. "Excuse me? Last time I checked, this is a free country." He smiled then, this slow, dangerous smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, and said, "A girl like you dressed like that, with that expensive watch and those nervous eyes? You're either slumming it or hiding from something. Which one is it?" Dude was reading me like a book and it freaked me out. But it also did something else, something I'm not proud to admit. It excited me. Here was this stranger who saw right through my little rebellion act. My whole life, people treated me like fragile china because of who my dad was. Judge Mackenzie's daughter. The golden girl who went to Stanford, who volunteered at homeless shelters, who was supposed to marry some boring lawyer and live in Pacific Palisades. But this guy? He looked at me like I was real. Like I was dangerous. Like I mattered beyond my last name. "Maybe I'm just here to dance," I said, holding his gaze even though every instinct told me to run. He leaned in closer, his breath warm against my ear, and whispered, "Then dance with me, beautiful. One song. If you don't like it, I'll disappear and you'll never see me again." The way he said it, man, it was like a promise and a threat all wrapped up together. Maya was giving me these wide eyes like, "Girl, what are you doing?" But I didn't care. I took his hand. It was warm, strong, and the moment our fingers touched, this electric current shot through me. Sounds cheesy, I know, but it's the truth. He led me to a darker corner of the dance floor, away from the strobing lights and the main crowd. The song changed to something slower, more sensual, and he pulled me close. Not gross close, but close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body. We started moving together, and holy crap, the man could dance. Not that grinding nonsense you see at most clubs, but real dancing like he actually knew what he was doing. "What's your name?" he asked, his hand resting on the small of my back, firm but respectful. I hesitated. Something told me giving him my real name was a bad idea. So I lied. "It's Sophia." He raised an eyebrow, that same dangerous smile playing on his lips. "Sophia. Pretty name. I'm Dom." We danced through 2 more songs, barely talking, just moving together like we'd done this 1,000 times before. It was intense, intimate in a way that had nothing to do with sex and everything to do with connection. Between songs he'd ask me little questions. What I did for fun. What I studied. If I believed in fate. I kept my answers vague, but with every question, every look, every touch, I felt myself falling into something I couldn't name. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his whole demeanor changed. The warmth in his eyes went cold, his jaw tightened, and suddenly he looked exactly like what he was, though I didn't know it yet. Dangerous. I gotta handle something, he said, his voice clipped. Stay here. Don't leave. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Before I could respond, he was gone, cutting through the crowd with 3 of those suited guys following behind him. Maya rushed over immediately. Okay, spill. Who is that fine specimen, and why did he look like he was about to murder someone when he checked his phone? I didn't have an answer. We stood there for maybe 15 minutes and Dom didn't come back. I was starting to feel stupid, like maybe this was some player move, when I heard shouting from the back of the club. Security was moving fast toward the VIP section. People started pulling out their phones. Something was going down. Maya grabbed my hand. We should bounce, like right now. She was right. Whatever was happening, we didn't need to be part of it. We headed for the exit, pushing through the crowd, and that's when I saw him. Dom was standing near the back entrance, surrounded by his guys, and there was this other man on his knees in front of him. Even from a distance, I could see the fear in the kneeling man's eyes. Dom was talking, his voice too low to hear over the music, but his body language said everything. He was in control. Absolute control. The man on his knees was nodding frantically, hands raised in surrender. Then Dom said something that made everyone around him laugh, cold and harsh, and he turned to walk away. That's when our eyes met across the club. For a split second, I saw something in his face. Regret? Concern? But it vanished as quick as it came, replaced by that cool, unreadable mask. We got outside and Maya was practically hyperventilating. Did you see that? Did you freaking see that? That guy is bad news, like cartel bad news. I tried to laugh it off, but my hands were shaking. What had I gotten myself into? Who was Dom really? We caught an Uber and Maya wouldn't shut up the whole ride home about how I needed to forget that guy, how he was obviously dangerous, how I was playing with fire. She was right. I knew she was right. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. About the way he looked at me. The way he made me feel seen. I figured that was it. One weird, intense night at a club I'd never go back to. A story to tell someday. But life? Life had other plans. 3 days later, I was at my dad's house for our weekly dinner. He lived in this massive place in Brentwood, all white walls and modern art, the kind of house that screamed successful, but never felt like home. We were sitting down to eat when his phone rang. He excused himself and I could hear him in the other room, his voice getting louder, more agitated. When he came back, his face was red, his hands clenched into fists. Everything okay, Dad? I asked, though I already knew the answer. He sat down heavily, rubbing his temples. It's work. This case I've been presiding over. It's getting complicated. My dad was a federal judge and he'd been working on some big organized crime case for months. He couldn't tell me details because of confidentiality, but I knew it was stressing him out. They're threatening me, he said quietly, and my blood ran cold. Who's threatening you? He looked at me with these tired, worried eyes. People you don't want to know about, sweetheart. Bad people who don't like the decisions I'm making. He tried to downplay it, but I could see he was scared. My dad, this man who'd faced down criminals in courtrooms for 30 years, was genuinely frightened. He told me he was hiring extra security, that I needed to be careful, stay aware of my surroundings, not talk to strangers. The usual parent worry stuff, but dialed up to 11. I promised him I'd be careful, but inside I was freaking out. After dinner, I went home to my apartment in Santa Monica and I couldn't shake this feeling of dread. What if something happened to him? What if these bad people came after me to get to him? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that scene at the club, Dom standing over that terrified man, the cold efficiency in his movements. Around 2 a.m. I heard something outside my window. My apartment was on the 3rd floor, so hearing anything outside was weird. I got up, heart pounding, and peeked through the curtains. There was a black SUV parked across the street, engine running, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. It hadn't been there when I got home. I watched it for maybe 20 minutes, paralyzed with fear, and then it just drove away. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was letting my dad's stress get to me. But the next morning there were flowers outside my door. Beautiful white roses, at least 2 dozen, with a card that just said, "Stay safe, Sophia." No signature. No name. But I knew who they were from. Dom. Somehow, someway he'd found out where I lived. And that's when it hit me. That night at the club? That wasn't some random encounter. That wasn't just a guy hitting on a girl at a nightclub. There was something bigger happening, something I was right in the middle of without even knowing it. I stared at those white roses for what felt like forever, my brain trying to make sense of everything. How did Dom know where I lived? How did he know my fake name was actually fake? And more importantly, why was he warning me to stay safe? I grabbed my phone and called Maya, practically shouting into it the second she picked up. He found me. The guy from the club, he knows where I live. Maya, bless her heart, was at my place in 30 minutes with coffee and her pepper spray. We sat on my couch and I told her everything. The flowers, the SUV, the weird feeling that I was being watched. Girl, you need to go to the cops, Maya said, but we both knew that wasn't gonna happen. What would I even say? Officer, a hot guy I danced with sent me flowers? That sounded insane. Plus, my dad was already dealing with threats. The last thing he needed was me adding to his stress. So I did what any rational person would do. I Googled him. Dominic Castellano, Los Angeles, and holy crap, the results that came up made my stomach drop. Article after article from the LA Times, the California Chronicle, even some national news outlets. Dominic Castellano, alleged head of the Castellano crime family, one of the most powerful organized crime operations on the West Coast. The articles talked about racketeering, money laundering, illegal gambling, extortion. They said he was untouchable, that the feds had been trying to build a case against him for years but witnesses kept disappearing or refusing to testify. There were photos of him leaving courthouses, always in those expensive suits, always surrounded by lawyers, always with that same calm, confident expression. Maya was reading over my shoulder, her face getting paler by the second. Oh my God. You danced with a literal mob boss. Like a real-life gangster. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. But here's the thing that really messed me up. In one of the articles, there was a mention of an ongoing federal case. A RICO case being presided over by, you guessed it, federal Judge Harrison McKenzie. My father. My dad was literally the judge trying to take down the Castellano family. And Dom, the guy who made my heart race and my knees weak, was the defendant. Well, not officially. The case was against his associates, but everyone knew Dom was the real target. They just couldn't prove it. Yet. This is bad, Maya said, which was the understatement of the century. This is so bad. He probably knows who you are. He probably approached you on purpose. That thought made me feel sick. Was everything fake? The connection I felt, the way he looked at me, the electricity between us? Was it all just some twisted manipulation? Some way to get to my father through me? I wanted to cry, to scream, to throw something. But instead I just sat there, numb, staring at his picture on my laptop screen. Even knowing what he was, who he was, I couldn't deny he was gorgeous. And worse, I couldn't deny that part of me still wanted to see him again. I know. Sounds crazy. But you gotta understand, my whole life I'd been the good girl. The one who followed the rules, made the right choices, never colored outside the lines. And for one night, dancing with Dom, I felt alive in a way I'd never felt before. Like I was the main character in my own story instead of just a supporting role in my father's legacy. That feeling was addictive. Dangerous. And apparently I was dumb enough to want more of it. For the next week I tried to go back to normal. I went to work at the nonprofit where I helped at-risk youth, I had dinner with my dad twice, I went to yoga with Maya. But the whole time I felt like I was being watched. And I was right. I'd catch glimpses of the same black SUV parked near my building. Different spots, different times, but always there. Once I saw a guy in a dark jacket standing across from the coffee shop I always went to, and when I looked directly at him, he just nodded and walked away. Dom was having me followed. Protected? Watched? I couldn't tell. But his presence was everywhere, this invisible force hovering around my life. Then 2 weeks after the club I got a text from an unknown number. Rooftop bar at the Roosevelt. 9 p.m. tonight. Come alone. We need to talk. D. My first instinct was to delete it. Block the number. Pretend it never happened. But curiosity killed the cat, right? And apparently I was the cat. I told myself I'd go just to tell him to leave me alone, to stop following me, to stay out of my life. That's what I told myself. But deep down, I knew I was lying. I wanted to see him again. I wanted answers. I wanted to know if what I felt that night was real or just another one of his manipulations. So at 8:45 p.m. I put on my favorite black dress, the one that made me feel confident and powerful, and I headed to the Roosevelt. The rooftop bar was exactly the kind of place Dom would pick. Expensive, exclusive, with a view of downtown LA that looked like something out of a movie. When I got there, the hostess didn't even ask my name. She just smiled and said, "Right this way, Miss Mackenzie." So he told them my real name. Of course he had. She led me to a private corner, away from the other guests, where Dom was sitting alone at a table with 2 glasses of wine already poured. He stood up when he saw me, and man, he looked even better than I remembered. Same sharp suit, same intense eyes, but there was something different. He looked tired. Worried even. "You came," he said, and there was genuine relief in his voice. "I wasn't sure you would." I stayed standing, keeping the table between us like a barrier. "Cut the crap, Dom. Or should I call you Mr. Castellano? Head of the Castellano crime family? The guy my father is trying to put in prison?" He winced at that, actually winced, and gestured to the chair across from him. "Please, sit. Let me explain." I didn't want to sit. I wanted to yell at him, to demand answers, to ask him why he was messing with my life. But something in his eyes made me pause. He looked genuinely upset. Genuinely sorry. So against my better judgment, I sat. "I didn't know who you were that night at the club," he started, his voice low and intense. "I swear to you, Sophia, or should I say Emma? I had no idea you were Judge Mackenzie's daughter. Emma. My real name." Hearing it from his lips sent a shiver down my spine. "I saw you dancing and you looked so free, so different from everyone else there. I couldn't take my eyes off you. That part was real. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But I'd read the articles. I knew what he was." "So when did you find out?" I asked, my voice harder than I felt. He took a sip of wine, his jaw tight. "The next morning. One of my guys showed me a photo from the club's security cameras, asked if I knew who you were. When I found out." He shook his head, running a hand through his dark hair. "I should have walked away right then. Should have left you alone. But I couldn't. I kept thinking about you, about the way you looked at me, the way you felt in my arms." This was insane. This whole conversation was insane. Here I was, having drinks with a mob boss who was basically confessing that he was obsessed with me. "So you had me followed?" I said. "The SUV. The guy outside my coffee shop. That was you." "Protection," he said firmly. "Not surveillance. Emma, your father's case? It's stirring up a lot of trouble. There are people in my world, dangerous people, who think getting to you might be a way to influence his decisions. I couldn't let that happen." My blood ran cold. "Are you threatening me?" His eyes flashed with something intense, almost angry. "No. Never. I'm trying to protect you. There's a difference." He leaned forward, his voice urgent. "Look, I'm not gonna pretend I'm a good guy. I'm not. I've done things, terrible things that would make you run screaming. But this is real. What I feel for you is real." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to throw my wine in his face and storm out. But another part, the stupid, reckless part, believed him. "My father would die if he knew I was here with you," I said quietly. Dom nodded slowly. "I know. And if my family knew I was risking everything for you, they'd think I'd lost my mind. But here we are." He reached across the table, his hand hovering near mine, not touching but close enough that I could feel the heat. "I can't offer you normal, Emma. I can't offer you safe. But I can offer you honesty. And protection. And this thing between us, whatever it is, I want to explore it. If you'll let me." This was the moment. The moment where I should have said no, should have walked away, should have chosen my father and my safe, predictable life over this dangerous, impossible attraction. But looking into Dom's eyes, seeing the vulnerability there, the genuine emotion, I couldn't do it. Maybe I was stupid. Maybe I was selfish. Maybe I was just tired of being the good girl who never took risks. "One condition," I heard myself say, and I couldn't believe the words coming out of my mouth. "You tell me the truth. Always. About everything. No more secrets, no more games. If we're doing this, whatever this is, it has to be real." Dom's face broke into that dangerous smile, the one that made my heart skip beats. "Deal. No more secrets." He finally took my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine, and that same electric current from the club shot through me. "But Emma, you need to understand something. My world? It's not pretty. It's not romantic like in the movies. It's dangerous and messy and complicated. People will judge you. Your father will hate me. Your friends will think you're crazy. Are you sure you want this?" I squeezed his hand, feeling like I was standing at the edge of a cliff about to jump. "I've spent my whole life being careful, Dom. Playing it safe. Maybe it's time I did something reckless." And with that, I jumped. We stayed on that rooftop for hours talking about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up in his family, about the pressure to take over the business, about the things he regretted and the choices he wished he could take back. I told him about the weight of being Judge Mackenzie's daughter, about always feeling like I had to be perfect, about the loneliness of living in someone else's shadow. For the first time in my life I felt truly seen, truly understood. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely, utterly wrong. But it felt so right. When he finally drove me home that night, in his ridiculously expensive car that probably cost more than my entire year's salary, he walked me to my door like a perfect gentleman. "Can I see you again?" he asked, his hand cupping my cheek, his thumb tracing my jawline. I should have said no. Everything logical in my brain was screaming at me to end this before it went any further. But my heart was already gone. "Yes," I whispered. And when he kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise, I knew there was no going back. I was falling for Dominic Castellano, the most dangerous man in California, the man my father was trying to destroy. And somehow I didn't care. Hey, real quick, what are you thinking about this story so far? I really want to know your opinion. Drop a comment below. Have you ever fallen for someone you knew was totally wrong for you? Do you know someone who's been in an impossible situation like Emma's? Tell me your story in the comments. Seriously, your stories help me understand what kind of content you love, and that helps me bring you more amazing stories like this one. So go ahead, hit that comment section and let's chat. And stick around until the very end because what happens next between Emma and Dom is gonna blow your mind. Trust me, you don't want to miss the twist that's coming. Let's keep going. The next 3 months were like living in a dream and a nightmare at the same time. Dom and I started seeing each other in secret, meeting at private places where nobody would recognize us. He'd pick me up in different cars, always careful, always watching. We'd have dinner at his penthouse overlooking the ocean, or drive up the coast to secluded beaches where we could just be normal for a few hours. And man, when it was just the two of us, it was magic. He wasn't the cold, calculating mob boss everyone feared. He was funny, smart, surprisingly gentle. He remembered little things I told him, like how I loved old movies and hated cilantro and always ordered my coffee without milk. But the lying was eating me alive. Every time I had dinner with my dad and he'd talk about the case, about how close they were to finally bringing down the Castellano organization, I felt like the worst daughter in the world. I was betraying him in the worst possible way and he had no idea. Maya knew, of course. I told her everything because I was gonna explode if I didn't tell someone. She thought I was insane, but she also saw how happy Dom made me. "Just be careful," she'd say every single time. "Please, Em, just be careful." I promised I would be, but honestly, I was already in too deep to be careful. Then one night, everything changed. Dom and I were at his place just hanging out, watching some old Hitchcock film when his phone rang. I could tell immediately something was wrong by the way his whole body tensed. He stepped out onto the balcony to take the call, and when he came back in, his face was pale. "What's wrong?" I asked, sitting up on the couch. He sat down next to me, taking both my hands in his, and I could feel them trembling slightly. Dom never trembled. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you weeks ago, but I was scared. Scared you'd leave, scared you'd hate me." My heart was pounding. "Dom, you're scaring me. What is it?" He took a deep breath, and when he looked at me, his eyes were full of pain. "The night we met at the club? It wasn't random, Emma. I mean, I didn't know who you were, that part was true. But I was there because I knew your father would be making a ruling the next day. A ruling that could destroy everything I've built. I was blowing off steam trying to clear my head. And then I saw you and everything else just disappeared." I pulled my hands away, feeling cold. "What ruling? What are you talking about?" "Your father was about to deny our motion to dismiss key evidence. Evidence that could put me away for life. The next morning he ruled against us just like we expected. But Emma, meeting you that night? It changed everything for me. I started thinking maybe there was a way out of this life. Maybe there was something worth changing for." I stood up, my mind racing. "Wait, are you saying that you've been using me to get information about my dad's case?" His face crumbled. "No. God, no. I've never asked you about the case. Never tried to manipulate you for information. I swear on everything I have, Emma. What we have is real." But I was spiraling, all the worst-case scenarios flooding my brain. "Then what was that phone call just now? What's got you so freaked out?" Dom ran his hands through his hair, looking more stressed than I'd ever seen him. "It's my uncle, Marco Castellano. He's the real power behind our family, always has been. He found out about us. About you." My blood went cold. "How? We've been so careful." Dom's jaw clenched. "Someone saw us last week at that restaurant in Malibu. Took photos. Marco's been having me followed because he doesn't trust that I'm handling things right. And now he knows I'm involved with the daughter of the judge who's trying to take us down. What does that mean? What's he gonna do?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Dom stood up and came to me, his hands on my shoulders, firm but gentle. He wants to meet you. He thinks you're a liability, that you could be feeding information to your father or the feds. I told him that's insane, that you'd never do that, but he won't listen. He's demanding I bring you to a meeting tomorrow night. My legs felt weak. A meeting? With your uncle? The actual head of the mafia. Dom nodded, his eyes pleading. I know it sounds terrifying, and it is. Marco's not a good man, Emma. He's ruthless and paranoid and dangerous. But if you don't come, he'll assume the worst. He'll think I'm compromised, that you're a threat. What happens if he thinks I'm a threat? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Dom's silence told me everything. I won't let anything happen to you, he finally said, his voice fierce. I promise you, Emma. I'll protect you no matter what. But I could see the fear in his eyes. For the first time since I'd met him, Dominic Castellano looked genuinely scared. And if he was scared of his uncle, then I should be terrified. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about calling my dad, telling him everything, asking for protection. But what would I even say? Hey Dad, I've been secretly dating the mob boss you're trying to prosecute, and now his scarier uncle wants to meet me? That would destroy him. The next evening, Dom picked me up in his black SUV, the one I'd seen parked outside my apartment that first night. He had 2 of his guys with him, both looking serious and armed. The drive felt like it took forever, even though it was only about 30 minutes to wherever we were going. We ended up at this old warehouse in the industrial district, the kind of place you see in movies right before something bad happens. Stay close to me, Dom said as we got out. Let me do the talking. Don't volunteer any information. And whatever you do, don't show fear. Marco feeds on fear. Great advice, except I was absolutely terrified. We walked into the warehouse and it was like stepping into another world. Despite the rundown exterior, inside was this surprisingly nice setup. Leather chairs, a full bar, expensive artwork on the walls. And sitting in the center of it all was Marco Castellano. He was older than Dom, maybe in his 60s, with silver hair slicked back and these cold, calculating eyes that reminded me of a shark. He was surrounded by at least a dozen men, all of them watching us as we approached. Dominic, Marco said, his voice smooth but with an edge to it. And this must be the famous Emma Mackenzie. Judge Mackenzie's little girl. The way he said it made my skin crawl. I forced myself to stand tall, to meet his gaze even though everything in me wanted to run. Mr. Castellano, I said, keeping my voice steady. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Polite. Pretty. I can see why my nephew is so taken with you. Please sit. Dom guided me to a chair across from Marco, positioning himself slightly between us like a shield. Let me be direct, Marco said, pouring himself a drink. Your relationship with my nephew puts us all in a very difficult position. You understand that, yes? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Your father is trying to destroy this family. And here you are, sleeping with the enemy, as they say. It makes people nervous. Makes them wonder where your loyalties lie. Makes them wonder if you're feeding information to Daddy. I found my voice then stronger than I expected. I would never do that. I haven't told my father anything about Dom. He doesn't even know we've met. Marco studied me for a long moment. I believe you. You know why? Because if you were smart enough to be a spy, you wouldn't have agreed to come here tonight. You'd know it was a trap. My heart stopped. A trap. Dom was on his feet instantly. Marco, we had a deal. You said if she came, you'd leave her alone. Marco waved his hand dismissively. Relax, nephew. I'm not going to hurt your girlfriend. But I needed to see for myself what kind of person she is. Whether she's strong enough to survive in our world. He turned back to me. Emma Mackenzie, you're in love with a man who can never give you a normal life. A man whose enemies would kill you just to hurt him. A man whose business involves things that would make you sick if you knew the details. And yet here you are. Yes, I said simply. Here I am. Something shifted in Marco's expression. Respect maybe? Or just curiosity? Your father's case goes to closing arguments in 2 weeks. When he rules against us, and Dominic will likely be indicted. He'll face trial, possibly decades in prison. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to be known as the judge's daughter who betrayed her father for a mobster? The words hit me like punches. I hadn't let myself think that far ahead, hadn't fully processed what loving Dom really meant for my future. I don't know, I admitted, my voice shaking. I don't know if I'm strong enough for all of that. But I know I love him. And I know he's more than what you've made him into. Marco laughed, a cold, harsh sound. More than what I've made him? Girl, I didn't make Dominic into anything. This is the life he was born into. the life he chose. Don't fool yourself into thinking you can save him or change him. Dom's hand found mine under the table, squeezing tight. That's enough, Marco, he said, his voice hard. You've met her. You've said your piece. Now let us go. Marco stood up slowly and every one of his men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. The tension in the room was suffocating. You can go, Marco said finally. But understand this, both of you. This relationship is a weakness. Weaknesses get exploited in our world. If the feds find out, they'll use her to flip you, Dominic. If our rivals find out, they'll use her to hurt you. And if your father finds out, Emma, it'll destroy him. You're playing a dangerous game and the house always wins. We got out of there as fast as we could without running. Once we were back in the SUV, Dom pulled me close and I finally let myself shake, let myself feel the terror I'd been holding back. I'm so sorry, he whispered into my hair. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. But that's when something clicked for me. Something Marco said had struck a chord. This was Dom's life. This was his world. And if I really loved him, I needed to accept all of it, not just the romantic dinners and sweet gestures. I pulled back to look at him. Dom, I need you to tell me everything. No more protecting me from the truth. If I'm in this, I'm all in. I need to know exactly what you do, what your family does, all of it. He looked hesitant, but he nodded. And that night he told me everything. The businesses that were fronts for money laundering. The protection rackets. The gambling operations. The violence that sometimes came with maintaining power. He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't try to make it sound better than it was. And with every revelation, I felt my innocence crumbling away. This was the man I loved. This was the reality of choosing him. When he finished, he looked at me with such vulnerability. Do you still love me? Knowing all of that. I thought about my father, about the life I'd always planned, about the person I thought I was. And then I thought about Dom, about how alive I felt with him, about the connection we shared. Yes, I said. I still love you. But Dom, we can't keep doing this. Sneaking around, lying to everyone. Something's gotta give. He cupped my face in his hands. I know. And I've been thinking about that. About what Marco said. He's right that this life is all I've known. But Emma, you make me want something different. You make me want to be better. My heart swelled. What are you saying? He took a deep breath. I'm saying maybe there's a way out. Maybe I can work with the feds, give them what they need to take down Marco and the others. In exchange for immunity, for a new start. For us. I stared at him, shocked. You turn on your family? For me? His eyes were intense, burning with determination. Not just for you. For us. For the life we could have together. A real life, away from all this darkness. It was everything I'd hoped for but never dared to ask. But it was also terrifying. Dom, if you do that, if you become an informant, your family will never stop hunting you. We'd have to disappear, leave everything behind. New identities, new lives. He nodded. I know. It's a huge risk. But staying in this world, watching it destroy us slowly? That's an even bigger risk. Emma, I'm tired. Tired of the violence, the paranoia, the blood. You've shown me there's another way to live. I want that. I want it with you. Tears were streaming down my face. This man, this dangerous, complicated, impossible man, was willing to give up everything for me. For us. Okay, I whispered. Okay, let's do it. Let's get out. The next week was a blur of secret meetings and careful planning. Dom reached out to the FBI through his lawyer, and they were very interested in what he had to offer. Marco Castellano had been untouchable for decades, but with Dom's testimony and insider knowledge, they could finally bring down the entire operation. But it had to be done carefully. One wrong move, one leak, and we'd both be dead before we could blink. The hardest part was keeping it from my father. He'd notice I'd been distant lately, distracted during our dinners. Everything okay, sweetheart? He'd ask, and I'd force a smile and lie straight to his face. Just work stuff, Dad. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was terrified and exhilarated and guilty all at the same time. The FBI wanted Dom to wear a wire to a meeting with Marco, to get him on tape discussing their illegal operations. It was dangerous as hell, but it was the only way to guarantee immunity and protection for both of us. The night before the meeting, Dom and I stayed up talking until sunrise. What if something goes wrong? I asked, curled up against him on his couch. What if Marco suspects something? Dom kissed the top of my head. Then we run. We disappear tonight and figure it out as we go. But Emma, I need you to promise me something. Anything, I said. If things go sideways tomorrow, if I don't make it out, you go to your father. You tell him everything. He'll protect you even if he hates me, even if he's angry with you. Promise me. My throat tightened. Don't talk like that. You're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. But he made me promise anyway, and I did, even though the words tasted like ash in my mouth. The next day felt like the longest day of my entire life. Dom went to the meeting with the wire hidden under his shirt, and I waited at a safe house with 2 FBI agents who barely spoke to me. Every minute felt like an hour. Every sound made me jump. Then my phone rang. It was Dom. "It's done," he said, and I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. "I got everything. Marco confessed to everything on tape. The feds are moving in now." I started crying, relief flooding through me like a tidal wave. "You're okay? You're really okay?" He laughed, and it sounded like freedom. "I'm okay. We're okay. It's over, Emma. It's finally over." But it wasn't over. Not really. Within hours, Marco and 17 other members of the Castellano family were arrested. The news was everywhere. "Largest organized crime bust in California history," the headlines screamed. And at the center of it all was Dominic Castellano, who turned state's witness. My phone exploded with calls and messages. Maya, my coworkers, people I hadn't talked to in years, all wanting to know if I'd seen the news. But the call I was dreading most came that evening. My father. "Emma, we need to talk. Now, come to the house." His voice was cold, controlled, and I knew. Somehow he knew. When I got there, he was standing in his study, the TV playing news coverage of the arrest. He turned to look at me when I walked in, and the disappointment in his eyes nearly broke me. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have you been seeing him?" I couldn't lie anymore. I was so tired of lying. "For months," I whispered. "Since the club." He closed his eyes, his jaw working like he was trying to control his anger. "My daughter. My daughter has been sleeping with the defendant in the biggest case of my career. Do you have any idea what you've done? The position you've put me in? The case could be thrown out. Everything I've worked for, everything we've fought for, could be compromised because of your recklessness." Each word was like a knife. "Dad, I never told him anything about the case. I never." He held up his hand. "It doesn't matter what you did or didn't tell him. It's the appearance, Emma. It's the conflict of interest." "I love him," I said, my voice breaking. "I know you don't understand, I know you think I'm crazy, but I love him." My father's expression softened just slightly. "Love? Emma, he's a criminal. He's manipulated you, used you." I cut him off. "No, he didn't. He's changing, Dad. He's trying to be better. He gave up everything, his entire life, to do the right thing. Doesn't that count for something?" We stood there in silence for a long moment. Finally, my father sighed, suddenly looking much older than his years. "I need time to process this. I need you to leave. Stay with Maya or get a hotel, but I can't look at you right now." Those words hurt more than any anger could have. I left his house feeling like I'd lost a part of myself. But when I got back to the safe house where Dom was waiting, when he wrapped his arms around me and held me while I cried, I knew I'd made the right choice. Love isn't always easy. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and costs you everything. But when it's real, when it's true, it's worth it. Over the next few months, things slowly started to settle. Marco's trial was fast-tracked, and with Dom's testimony, the conviction was swift. Life in prison, no parole. The rest of the family scattered, some arrested, others disappearing into hiding. Dom and I entered witness protection, given new identities, and relocated to a small town in Colorado. It was weird at first, being someone else, living somewhere where nobody knew our story. But it was also freeing. For the first time, we could just be normal. No bodyguards, no looking over our shoulders, no secret meetings. Just us. My relationship with my father is still strained. We talk sometimes, brief phone calls where we dance around the elephant in the room. But I'm hopeful that someday he'll come around, that he'll see Dom the way I see him. Not as the criminal he was, but as the man he's becoming. As for Dom and me, we got married last month. Small ceremony, just us and the handful of people in our new life who we've let in. No fancy dress, no big reception, just two people promising to face whatever comes next together. And yeah, sometimes he still has nightmares about his old life. Sometimes I still feel guilty about lying to my father. But we're building something new, something good, something real. That night at the club, when our eyes met across the dance floor, I had no idea my life was about to change forever. I had no idea I'd fall in love with a man who'd turn my world upside down. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing. Because sometimes the most dangerous choice is the one that saves you. Sometimes you have to risk everything to find out who you really are. And sometimes, just sometimes, love is worth burning your whole life down for. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's the end? That's how it finishes. But here's the thing, this story? This is just the beginning. Because life in witness protection isn't as safe as they promised us. There are people still looking for Dom, people who want revenge for what he did. And just last week I saw something that made my blood run cold. A black SUV, parked across from our new house. Same make, same model as the ones Marco's guys used to drive. When I went to check it out, it was gone. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe our past is catching up to us faster than we thought. What happens when you can't outrun your past? What happens when the family you betrayed finds you? And what happens when you realize that leaving the mafia isn't as simple as just walking away? If you want to know what happens next, if you want to find out whether Dom and Emma's love story survives what's coming for them, you need to check out the next video on this channel. Because trust me, this story is far from over. The question isn't whether danger is coming. The question is whether they'll survive it together or if the past will destroy everything they've built. Click on the next video right now. You've come this far with Emma and Dom, you can't stop now. Not when things are about to get even more intense. Not when the real test of their love is just beginning. Go ahead, click that next video. I promise you what happens next will leave you speechless. The nightclub was just the beginning. What comes next? That's where the real story starts. See you in the next one.